Okay. I'd like to call to order, actually, excuse me, folks. I'd like to call to order the Finance Committee meeting of Tuesday, June 20th. It is 1:01 p.m. We are live on a digital platform. We have 4 items on today's agenda, and let me quick call the roll, which is very easy, Janice, as you'll know because you're here. Present from City Council, we have Randy Allison, Eric Biter, and myself, Liz Mealy, from the administration, Chris Black in IT, and Scott Livermore from Streets and Parks, and then our captioner, and we're all here. All right, item number 1 on the agenda is ARPA transfer ordinance number 7. And Scott, you're here to present that.
Yep. So what I have for you today is a transfer ordinance number 7 to purchase water barricades for city events and things that we do here in the city. Transferring it from recreation contingency at 340. Right now there's 340,250. I'm taking 40,000 out of it, which brings it down to 300,250. And transferring it to public safety to purchase the water barriers for 40,000. This will purchase right around 100 of them. In the past, we've got them from Hall Bakers to put out for parades. A lot of the events, obviously, with the way the world is now, we're trying to make it safer. And that actually was around $10,000 for one event to rent them and have them picked back up. So these obviously is 40,000, but in the long run save us a lot of money and keep the people safer.
And Scott, I know I'm being stupid here, but what does a water barriers look like? Kind of those concrete barriers, but they're
similar. They're smaller. They roughly weigh, when they're filled up, around 1,600 pounds. They will stop a small car, obviously not a bigger truck like a rig, but it's going to give people time. They will disable a smaller vehicle. So yeah, they're probably around 3.5 feet high, 7 feet long.
Yep.
They're orange, fill them up. Yep.
And filled with water on site. Is that generally the practice?
Yep. We can manhandle them with one or two people to pull them out, put them in place, and then right before the event, when we had to shut the streets down, we go through, fill everything, and then they're easily drained, and then open the street back up.
Okay, got it. Yeah, that does sound like a savings. Is there a reason that we decided not to budget this in the kind of ongoing expenses in the recreation department and the capital budget?
It wasn't thought of when we did the capital last year. And I was getting a lot of questions through the events and stuff through our safety committee meetings that we have with the parades and everything. Do we have them? We looked at a bunch of options. This is actually one of the cheapest options to get. And I'm still getting the kind of the heat coming down of like, we need to either go get them or see. Right now we use them. Well, we got to go to Tioga County, Clinton County, and we borrow some from Little League. So we have to travel a lot of places, and we don't have enough through those 3 locations. So the idea was just to purchase these and get these here on site that the city owns to use. But as far as to answer your question, it was an overthought, and I figured let's, all right, try to take it out of recreation, move it over, and purchase them so I can have them for this upcoming season.
Okay, got it. So you're saying that we were averaging $10,000 per time that we had to get these things in?
Yep. And in the past we haven't used them, but the way things are anymore, it's starting to be more and more prevalent to what's going on. We used them last year for the Little League World Series, and that was a $10,000 hit right there. So by having these, and obviously we're going to utilize them for more than just the World Series parade. Be First Fridays. There's a number of stuff we're going to be able to use them for to actually get our money back fairly soon.
So these are basically instead of the street closure barriers then at this point?
Yeah. So we'll still have those reflective barricades out, obviously for visibility at night, but these will be the last line of defense before it hits to the people. Yep.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Randy, Eric?
I don't have it. I just got some housekeeping questions for my own curiosity. 100 of them's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
How are you guys going to inventory them essentially so we keep track of them? And then where are you going to store them?
They'll either be stored here at Public Works, and I'm in the midst of talking with the fire over at their training facility, locking them up inside the fence along their fence over there. So they just can't walk off. But yeah, that's the plan right now.
Okay. Sorry, guys. We have some interference here. Randy, anything from you?
No, that's fine.
Okay. And Eric, did you have any other follow-up questions aside from the storage thing?
No, I was just kind of curious.
Okay. Is there a lifetime on these, Scott?
I mean, it's how you take care of them. I don't have that answer. I can get that for you though by Thursday. I'm getting, a lifespan, 10 years, 15 years. I can find that out.
I guess honestly, part of what I'm asking is I'm assuming, to Eric's point, that we're not going to use 100 of them at any one go. So
it'll be close. It'll be close because we're going to use two to three just on a standard road coming down through, and we actually want to add more through some of these bigger parade routes. So instead of just putting barricades down past Campbell Street, we'll end up using some of these as well. So we plan on extending the safety zone a little bit bigger than we have in the past is the idea of it. And to have 100, we might only use 80, so we have some backups if something would happen.
Right. Yeah. Well, I guess that's kind of what I'm asking. But what I wanted to make sure was it wasn't like they had a lifespan of like 3 years and then we were going to need to replace them. Maybe overbuying wasn't a good idea.
No, they
buy some every year.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. If you could look into that for Thursday, just because we should build in replacement cost on them then.
Yep.
And whether that looks like us replacing all of them in 10 years or whether it's better. It seems to me like it might be wiser for us to replace some every 3 years or something like that, assuming that we're going to wear some out. Yeah. So that we can build that into the budget moving forward.
Okay.
And don't need to worry about, as was the case often before we had ARPA funds, not having the money to buy something when we needed to replace it. Because we've done a lot of that. So be good to get it built into the capital budget moving forward. Okay. All right. If I don't hear anything else, guys, then I think Scott can officially split. Anything from you two?
I have a follow-up on.
Sure.
I have a follow-up on your question, Liz.
Sure.
And to that point, then Scott, do they sit flat on the ground, the bottom, or do they have some kind of supports under?
They sit flat on the ground. However, there is slots for forklifts that you can take a forklift in and move them. The idea is obviously once they're filled, you don't want to move them, but you could.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if we're picking them up, if we're using equipment, no, the chances of them fairly slim because of the slots that are made for the movement. Yep.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep.
These are things, that you're right that they're a wise idea, Scott, but they're just not things that I ever think about in the context of Williamsport. Thinking now, what the heck are water barriers? And I, for some reason, assumed it had something to do with Graffia's Run.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yes, no, clearly making public events like that safer, from external forces is a wise idea. So thanks. All right. Anything else to follow up with, guys? All right. Hearing nothing. Thank you, Scott, for bringing this to us, and we'll see you on Thursday with it.
Okay. Thanks.
Bye. Up next, Chris Black, I believe we have item number 2 is a contract with River Valley Internet.
That is correct.
Okay.
This is for internet service at Shaw Park, so we can remotely monitor cameras that are being installed over there.
Okay.
It's for a total of $70 a month. The first month there was a $150 install fee, plus they prorated it. They will prorate for the rest of the month.
Got it. 70 or 75, Chris? I thought it was 75.
It might be. I just have a blank invoice in front of me. I think it is 75 for what we're getting. We could bump it up to a higher speed for another 25 a month if need be. But for what we're using it for, I'm thinking this is going to be well sufficient.
Okay. Eric and Randy?
I have a few questions. Hang on a second here. Not getting right. Okay. So is this a year agreement? It doesn't really say on the.
It's a month to month.
Oh, it's month to month.
It's
Okay.
month to month. Yeah.
So is it just the months? What we're just going to use it for the summer, or?
Well, I mean, eventually there will be coverage out there for the basketball courts and the tennis courts and everything else. So I mean, if we want to turn, disconnected at certain times during the year, we probably could. But that does give us another set of eyes at that end of town.
Okay. How many cameras are there?
Currently, there's 3, only because I'm waiting on power poles to be put in by Streets and Parks. And then there'll be an additional 4 added on to that. That's outside the building. And there's 1 on the inside where people would come in and out to use the restrooms, where the person in charge is going to be sitting and so forth.
And then, so they're going to be recording what's going on, that we can.
When there's
view
movement,
later.
yes, it will record.
Okay. And do we own the recording, or does that
Yes.
come through? Okay.
Yes, it's
So
property.
River Valley,
Yep.
they don't have any, they're not involved at all with the.
They're just giving the
Recordings or
feedback to
anything
the
like
world.
that.
That's all. But so we can access it.
Okay. So and how long does the recording last? I mean, how long do we warehouse it?
I'm using a current system very similar to it over at the Patrol Museum right now. And with a dozen cameras, I've got back to at least 45 days.
Okay.
And it's based on how many cameras, how often something is recorded, that sort of thing.
Oh, great. Okay. And are the cameras, what kind of coverage area do they pan or anything like that?
These particular ones that I like to use do not, because
Okay.
the issue I've always found with pan tilt zoom cameras is they're panning and tilting and zooming when you set them up on a patrol, and they catch what you're looking for, but then they don't follow what you're looking for. They move on to the next spot.
Right. Okay.
And you miss what they're doing. Where if you have a fixed focal on a particular area, I try to get coverage linearly from one end to another. So if I see somebody walking in one side, I can continue to watch them from camera to camera as they leave the property.
Okay. All right. Great. That's all I have. Thanks, Chris.
Of course.
Thanks, Randy. Eric, any questions from you?
The question that I have is one that I brought up before, Mr. Black. I asked the administration if we could get a list of contracts with dollar figures.
Okay.
I believe it was about a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, that we were talking about the finance software. I'm just concerned at the software as a service, what we're paying for all that over the coming years. So if that's something that you would be able to prepare for us, just so we can get an idea, because I think that's starting to creep up into the $200,000 range. If I were to take just a quick guess year over year. So I would be very happy if you could get that for us.
I can put together what I'm responsible for, sure.
That'd be
But
fantastic.
what's in
if
the
you could.
other departments, I mean, I don't have eyeballs on that stuff at all.
No,
I
that's fine.
think you're holding a lot of it though, Chris. I mean,
Yeah.
the finance software obviously isn't on you, but I think a lot of the other software is running through you.
Yeah, with
Some
the
of it
police
is,
software
but
recently
yes,
and
I
things
will.
like that.
I can certainly get that together.
Okay.
That'd be awesome.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Yeah, the one thing that I would add to that, Eric, might be, I know with a lot of these software packages, we're looking at cost increases of like 5%, something like that, an average of 5% once the initial contract term is over. So if we could maybe kind of look at how long we were locked into a given rate on those, you know what I mean? I'm assuming in say 2 or 3 years, we're looking at a 5% increase across the board. So then we go from $200,000 a year, whatever that might be, to 210, right? But just kind of trying to think about the cost to the city moving forward. Now, obviously, all of this software, all of the server contracts, et cetera, are probably a lot less expensive than the people that we would have to have around to do the same work. Like, you know what I mean? But I still think that, to Eric's point, it's wise for us to bear that in mind, because there's, you know, some of those contracts will also involve replacement of hardware at some point relatively soon, and that too adds expense. But I'm trying to think if I had any other questions related to this item. Just so we are thinking of maintaining this as a year-round service in the park, correct?
My
It sounds to
understanding
me.
is, yeah, if the recreation department and the police department would like that maintained throughout the year, then, I mean, I would recommend that it is. Only because if we have cameras in place, but we haven't turned off from October through April, and something happens October 15th, you know, how are we going to feel about that? You know, when we could have just for $75 kept it on another month and been able to see what's going on.
And you're saying River Valley Internet is not providing the storage for us, correct?
That is correct. They are just
We're doing the storage in-house. They're just providing internet
storage is in-house on location. Yes.
Okay. On location.
Yep.
Okay. And what funds are we using to purchase the cameras? Chris, remind me again.
That's coming out of capital.
Okay, so that's out of the capital budget.
Correct.
Got it. 7 in total, and then what are we planning to purchase cameras for next? If we're
I have cameras going in hopefully next week at Memorial Pool.
Okay.
Replacing the ones that they have there currently, because the ones that they have, the federal government really doesn't want us putting them online because of the chipset that's in them. It's very easy to break into them.
Oh, okay.
Okay, very easy to hack and download the information from it, so they're kind of prohibited right now.
Yeah.
And then also I'm going to be adding cameras for the new basketball courts that are down there at Memorial Park. We have those sets of playground equipment that's closest to 4th Street. I'll be putting cameras in there to give the coverage of that area as well. And then after that, there will be Lowe's Park and Newberry Park, hopefully yet this year. And then the other parks, Young's and Brandon, next year.
Got it. And then we have replacement costs for this built into the capital budget in 5 or 6.
Correct.
Okay, got it. Because I'm assuming that's the lifetime of any of these cameras, right? 5 or 6 years.
Roughly. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Because these cameras are low enough that the other cameras that that I could have bought in the past, I can get 2 for the same price. So if a camera initially was $600, I could get 2 really good ones for roughly $400 and have a third one on the shelf as a spare.
Got it. Okay. And then last question, is all of the data from any of the recordings by any of these being stored at the individual parks? We're not bringing it into a central location in the city?
That is correct.
So we are not.
It could be. We're not doing it that way because of the bandwidth it would require, which would increase the cost at each location.
Right.
So we can easily access it from a web page. And if I've given you the invitation to create a login for it, you can get to it. Otherwise, it's completely encrypted.
Okay. And you would have to be sitting in the specific park to easily access it from the web page.
No, I can access it from my phone.
Okay. All right. So that was what I was.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so all the materials are stored at any individual park, but they're all available to anyone with the appropriate clearance online.
Correct. Like if a
Okay.
call comes in that something's going in at Shaw Park, the watch commander grabs it, they can bring it up on their screen and see what's going on that
Got
minute.
it. Okay, that seems more useful. I was going to say, because otherwise it makes us basically a reactionary entity. That was
No,
what
it
was
is. I
confused
mean,
about.
it is a lot. You can view it live if you need to.
Okay. Now we don't obviously intend to have anyone viewing it live, right? Because it would seem, I guess, I guess partly what I'm curious about when we're putting cameras into all the city parks is how sort of procedural questions. If we are having an ongoing issue, say at Lowe's, at one of the parks in the
Okay,
city,
yep.
at Newbury, it would seem wiser to me to put an actual officer down there than to have somebody watch the cameras. But
Well, plus and I agree, only because if I'm watching the camera from a patrol,
mhm,
even with sirens and lights, I'm 5 minutes away at best.
right. Exactly. And right. And I think if we're having problems in any of our parks, it's best for the police to be acting as intervention there. You know what I mean? I don't think there's a
Yes.
lot to be gained by surveilling people remotely.
No, I mean, this isn't for like an ongoing surveillance type system. This is only, say, hey, we have a suspicious character, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Seen going so and so, or patrol says, hey, I just had this guy jump out of a car at Shaw Place and take off running, and we kind of track which direction he went in.
Yeah, got it. No, I think I think they will clearly be useful. I guess I'm just kind of trying to figure out how we're putting them to use. But I'm glad to hear that they are accessible when you're not actually in the park, because that would seem to me to be a little after the fact. But okay. Randy and Eric, anything else from you?
No, I don't. Some of the questions I had have been answered.
Yeah, got
It's
it.
good, which is the good thing.
Yeah.
Nothing more from me.
Okay. All right. Then let's go ahead, I think, and move on to your Unitrends contract, which is item number 3 on our agenda. Chris.
Yes. This is for renewal of our backup system. The piece of the appliance that we're currently using has reached end of life, and this is the replacement for it. They will be bringing all the data off of the old one onto the new one with additional storage in the new one as well. Initial year is $12,008.50, of which $700 is the installation and conversion cost. And then for the next 2 years after that, it's $11,308.50 for years 2 and 3.
Got it. And then at the end of year 3?
If we renew, there will probably be about another, if I'm guessing, I'm sure there's going to be an increase,
Right.
or we find a different solution at that point.
Got it. But we receive equipment that is ours to keep with this, or we are basically renting equipment for the cost of $11,000 a year.
Correct. It's stored in our location for us to use for $11,308 per year.
Got it. But when the contract expires, the equipment leaves us.
Correct.
But we are not responsible we're not on the hook for any sort of increased ticket price if a piece of the equipment has to be replaced. Correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So like any rental, yeah.
Yeah, if it gets to, it's like most any other lease, quote unquote, if something happens to the equipment through hardware failure or environmental failure or whatever, it's taken care of by them.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Randy and Eric?
I just have one question about at the end of the document. There's 2 paragraphs there, and the first one talks about it's recommended to have an audit of performed on an annual basis for a number of reasons. That's not an extra cost then, correct?
No, it is not.
Well, then they asked, if you don't want it, you can remove this item. Seems to me that it would be a useful item to have.
Oh, yeah, I mean, testing your backups is,
Yeah,
you have to. Otherwise, how do you know they're any good?
yeah, that's what I thought. But I thought, well, who would want to remove it, if it's free and they
Some
are
people
offering.
think it's, because of, network overhead or something like that. We're not in that situation. We don't have 1,000 users using a pencil
Okay.
pipe,
Okay,
where they
Yes.
come in and test the stuff. We have a fairly decent pipe for the number of people that we have.
yeah,
Um,
okay,
it performs well for us.
yes. So if you were that big, you'd probably they'd do it in-house themselves anyhow. If they had 1,000.
Possibly, it's always better to have a third set of eyes on stuff.
Yeah,
Only because you get tunnel vision if you're trying to do the same thing yourself. I know it's supposed to work this way, so I'm seeing it work this way. Why can't I figure out why it's not working? And someone else comes in and goes, well, hey, you need to click this button over here.
hmm
Only because you zeroed in on what you thought was the issue or not the issue, and they can take care of it.
Okay. Yep. Sounds great. That's all I had.
I have nothing.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Thanks, Randy. Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, I think that's all the questions that I've got for now on that item. Chris, what do we pay for our non-backup?
I'm
Oh,
don't,
sorry. I guess what I mean is, so this is all just backup that we use only in the instance of some sort of failure, correct?
that is correct.
Right. So what do our non-backup supplies cost us?
I
The
don't
what,
know
like
that
the servers that we're
everything is-
currently running?
Everything
What's
is
that?
backed up. I don't know what you mean by
Oh,
non-backup.
sorry. I apologize. I sort of thought of this as backup equipment that we would roll over to, but this
No.
is providing our backup. Got
This
it.
is
This is
providing
our
a backup of
this is our
current data
storage.
and images of like our exchange server and all that.
All of
So
it.
if
Yeah.
one of those fails, we can just roll the image back in and it'd be up and running again.
It'd be there. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. I was thinking of this as kind of backup equipment. Yeah. Some days you can't rely on
It's
it.
not for power backup
Yeah.
or
Right.
an extra on
Or,
the shelf.
or an extra backup server or
Yeah,
anything
it's
like
not
that.
an extra on the shelf. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Pardon me. I was having yes. As a person who
Kind of a
routinely fails
Monday.
to back
It's
things
kind of
up,
still Monday. So, okay.
it's always Monday till Wednesday for me, Chris. That's the rule in my world.
Words delivered.
Everything starts a little later in my week than everybody else's, and ends a little later too. Anyway, but okay, all right. Then thank you. And
Sure.
the final item on our agenda is any related items. Does anybody have anything? I don't believe that I have anything out there for anyone who's currently in attendance today. Does anyone else have anything to bring up for the good of the order?
I don't.
Okay, all right.
Nor do I.
All right, hearing nothing, then I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So move.
I'll second.
All in favor? All
Aye.
right. Okay, all right. Thanks, guys. I will.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.